Stipula. Anyway, today we're going to have a look at this pen, one of the pens from my personal collection, one of the pens I've had since the end of 2016. Time flies when you're having fun. That I did not yet review. It was in my personal pens series, but I haven't done a full review of it. So I thought the time has come and we should do this. So today we're going to have a look at this pen, Stipula Etruria Magnifica Alter Ego. Long name, nice pen. I'm going to cover the parts of the pen, do a writing sample, tell you what I like about it, what I don't like about it. Let's get started! So happy today, uncharacteristically so. Okay, so here we go with the Stipula Etruria Magnifica. It's a very long name, but it's an interesting looking pen. So, as I understand it, there were two finishes. This is the Alter Ego finish. There was another finish. It's called the Etruria Magnifica, and just so you know, this is a Stipula Etruria. So as you can see, the Magnifica, as you would expect, following the name, is a little bigger. Not so much in length. I don't think there is that much of a difference. Capped and uncapped, there isn't an enormous difference either. The real difference lies in the diameter. The Magnifica is a thicker pen. Another difference is that this pen is a piston filler and this is cartridge converter. Now realistically, I think the Magnifica is actually a captive converter, but it is a nice pen. It's also quite a bit heavier than the regular Etruria. Now, an interesting frame of reference, as always, is the Lamy Safari. As you can see, the Etruria is a nice pen, especially fairly girthy. Okay, let's cover the parts of this pen. Top of the cap, nice celluloid. Same thing as the rest of the pen. As always, you have the nice Stipula clip. You see a very similar clip on the regular Etruria, except this is more rounded off, and here on the Magnifica it seems this end seems to be a little bit more pointy. Clip is fairly springy. And then you have this nice center band of what I think is gold, it is a very nice finish, which has I thought they were laurel leaves on there, which is quite nice. Barrel, piston turning knob, and what I want to show you here, right there is an engraving. A little hard to see, but it says Stipula, and below it says Firenze, made in Italy. And here you have the number. This is number 33 out of 351. Pen uncaps by unscrewing. Nice. Less than one full turn, so it's easy to uncap. Section is hourglass shaped. I find it very comfortable, even though it does not post. Comfortable pen. On the heavier side of things, there seems to be some sort of metal in there, because it's the balance point seems to be there. And the nib is actually titanium, labeled Titanio Stipula with those laurel leaves again. And this is an incredibly nice nib. Now, the first interesting sort of point of interest is all the titanium nibs I have used have been a very dark, dull grey, kind of like this color. But this is clearly a gold color, so I assume they have anodized it, they have done something to it, but it has that nice color, which is rather nice, I think. Another thing is that most of the titanium nibs I have used are very soft and a bit prone to springing. This nib is on the stiffer side of things and has a very pleasant snapback, which makes it for a very fun writer when it comes to adding a bit of flex to your handwriting. So although I can talk for a very long time about this pen, I think by far the most interesting thing I can do is to show you how it writes. So, grabbing some paper, and let's see what we can do here. So, what do we have? We have it is a little prone to drying out. So, we have the Stipula Etruria Magnifica. The nib is a fine titanium, and the ink is just Waterman blue. Actually, I think it is Mont Blanc that I put in, Mont Blanc Royal Blue. Okay. I'm writing currently without any pressure, my normal writing pressure. And as you can see, the pen definitely puts down a fairly fine line. This is smooth paper. It prefers paper with a little bit more texture to it, but it does work relatively well. So, let's do some fast writing. See, that's what you get. Quickly try to prime the feet a little bit, because I know it's a bit wetter than that. Let's see what happens here. I think it had dried out a little bit, because this is more representative of its normal writing. Okay, so no real skips. Does well. Nice. Wetness, well, as I said, I did just prime the feet a little bit because it was running drier than it usually does. I think I had it in my desk drawer and I may have let it dry out a bit too much. Now it's nice and wet. Now what about that springiness to the nib? As always, be careful, but I have found out that this nib can take a bit of flexing. That's about as far as I'm willing to take it. So, the advantage of this pen, and I bought this from Sarge, of course, during the Madrid pen show, and the reason I was attracted to the pen was not so much the material, although it is attractive, it doesn't particularly stand out to me, but that definitely does. You have a very, very nice expressive nib. That just does very nicely. Still can't do this, but in any case, it writes really, really nicely. Reverse writing works perfectly well, and you take it from a fine to an extra fine. So very, very nice. I'm really rather fond of this pen. Let's have a look at what I like about it and what I not like about it. What do I like about the Stipula Etruria Magnifica Alter Ego? And what do I not like about the Stipula Etruria Magnifica Alter Ego? Well, this is one of the pens that I bought and that I put in my personal collection and that I have kept in my personal collection. So clearly it is a pen that I really like. I like the size, I like the weight. It's a slightly heavier pen, which I think is very nice. I find it a very comfortable writer. The section, that hourglass shape, to me works very well, very comfortable to hold. It's not a huge pen, but it's definitely a larger pen. I like the looks, a pretty material, but the real seller for me on this pen is the nib. As soon as I saw that gold titanium nib, I hadn't even tried it, I kind of liked it. And I dipped it, I tried it out, and I really fell in love with it. I remember that, the last day of the show in Madrid, which, by the way, the Madrid pen show is a lovely pen show, so if you ever have a chance, go there. Nice pen that I really like. So, bigger, great nib, and actually a piston filler. Now, whether it's a captive converter or not, it is interesting. I said captive converter earlier because that was what I was told. I have removed the nib unit and looked inside, and I almost wonder if this is the type of piston where you rotate the piston knob, and there is just and there is a seal that slides up and down. The reason I say that is that if you fill up the pen and you operate this piston rod while there's ink in the pen, at some point it starts to run out of this seam. So I'm not sure if it's actually a captive converter or if it's a seal running along the rod, because this piston turning knob doesn't actually pull out to the back, it stays right in place. So I have the feeling it's the seal on the inside that's actually moving and not so much the rod that's moving. Another issue I don't like so much, very practically, is that this turning knob is fairly slippery, and if you're cleaning the pen, your fingers get wet, it's almost impossible to operate because it's a bit stiff. It's not that it needs grease, it's just a bit stiff to operate in general, and that makes it a bit tough to clean and use. Having said that, I think it's a very nice pen. Now, I wanted to talk about the price, but the thing is, I don't remember what I paid for this. I believe, sorry about that, I needed a sip of tea. I believe I paid something in the range of $500. So not a very cheap pen, but it is a Stipula, it's a limited edition, it's all that stuff. So that's kind of what you would expect. To me, that price was worth it. I find it a very comfortable pen. Not necessarily something I have inked up all the time, but every time I do ink it up, I think, wow, that nib, that's a really nice nib. So that's very nice. The bottom line. I really like this pen. That's why it's in my personal collection. That's why it stayed there. The titanium nib they did here is exceptional, because most titanium nibs I have used, and yes, I have used quite a bunch, were all very soft and prone to springing, because they're very soft and springy, and then you exert a little bit too much pressure, and without any warning, the tines splay and they stay splayed. You can bend them back, but once sprung, it's the weak spot. I've been pretty rough on this nib, really flexing it quite hard, and every time it snaps back very snappily, and it works really well. So for me, the bottom line is not a cheap pen, but a superb nib, and that's really worth it. So I hope this was useful, and I'll gladly see you later. Bye bye.
Bye.